Good day.
Good day, everyone.
Good day, everyone.
Good day, everyone.
Good day.
I'm Joan, Christy G. Andallo.
I am Arjay Bayan.
I am Kaye and Buenviaje.
My name is Joselyn Lata from BSBA HRM 13.
And I am Kenshen Chelie, Arcaya, and we are the Group 1.
Good day, everyone. I will be discussing the workflow analysis and organization structure. First, let us define the workflow design and organization structure. Workflow design is the process of analyzing the tasks necessary for the production of a product or service. It happens when you map out the sequential tasks involved to take an item from initiated to process. In the process of workflow design, you get a chance to see the entire process and how things move seamlessly from step to step. Organization structure refers to the relatively stable and formal network of vertical and horizontal interconnections among jobs that constitute the organization. This structure defines how activities such as task allocation, coordination, and supervision are directed toward the achievement of organizational aims. Next is the workflow analysis. Workflow analysis is the study of the way work moves through an organization. It is the process in which an organization examines the progress of workflows. Organizations need to identify the outputs of work to specify the quality and quantity standards for those outputs and to analyze the processes and inputs necessary for producing outputs that meet the quality standards. Is this useful? Yes, because it provides a means for the manager to understand all the tasks required to produce a number of high-quality products as well as the skills necessary to perform those tasks. What are the stages of workflow analysis? First is the analyzing of work outputs. An output is the product of a work unit. This is often an identifiable object such as jet engine blade, forklift, or a football jersey. However, an output can also be a service. Services provided by an airline, house cleaning, and even babysitting. After analyzing the work outputs, the next step will be analyzing the work process. The work processes are the activities that members of a work unit engage in to produce a given output. The work processes need to consist of operating procedures to specify how things should be done at each stage of the development. These procedures need to include all the tasks that are required in the production of the product. It is common practice to add positions to meet new requirements as workload increases within work groups. The final step in the workflow analysis is the identification of the inputs used in the development of the product. Inputs can be further segregated into the equipment, raw materials, and human skills needed to achieve a task. Raw materials consist of the materials that will be converted into the work unit's product. Next is the organization structure. Organization structure is the systematic arrangement of people working for the organization in order to achieve certain goals. It refers to how individual and teamwork within an organization are coordinated. It provides a cross-sectional overview of the static relationships between individuals and units that create the outputs. Organization structure is typically displayed through organizational charts that convey both vertical reporting relationships and horizontal functional responsibilities. Dimensions of structure. Two of the most critical dimensions of organization structure are centralization and departmentalization. Centralization refers to the degree to which decision-making authority is concentrated at higher levels in an organization. In centralized companies, many important decisions are made at higher levels of the hierarchy, while on the other hand, in decentralized companies, decisions are made and problems are solved at lower levels by employees who are closer to the problem in question. If you are an employee, you would feel more comfortable and productive in a decentralized company, because decentralized companies gives more authority to lower-level employees, resulting in a sense of empowerment. Decisions can be made more quickly, and employees often believe that decentralized companies provide greater levels of procedural fairness to employees. Departmentalization refers to the degree which work units are grouped based on functional similarity. Organizational structure differ in terms of departmentalization, which is broadly categorized as either functional or divisional. What do we mean by functional and divisional? Functional structure employs a functional departmentalization scheme with relatively high levels of centralization. Organizations using functional structure group jobs based on similarity in functions. Such structures may have departments such as marketing, manufacturing, finance, accounting, human resources, and information technology. For example, in a functional structure, an employee in the marketing department may serve as an event planner, planning promotional events for all the products of the company. In divisional structure, it combines a divisional departmentalization scheme with relatively low levels of centralization. In organizations using divisional structures, departments represent the unique products, services, customers, or geographic locations the company is serving. Thus, each unique product or service the company is producing will have its own department. For example, a marketing employee in a company with a divisional structure may be in charge of planning promotions, coordinating relations with advertising agencies, and planning and conducting marketing research, all for particular product line handles by his or her division. So, for the relevance of workflow analysis and organization structure, the goal of workflow analysis is to figure out if any efforts are being duplicated and to learn which tasks can be eliminated, while the goal of the organizational structuring is also to create an efficient workforce by establishing work responsibility and allocating the administrative authority to delegate tasks and control employees.
Job analysis contains a simple term called analysis, which means detailed examination of the elements or structure of something. Therefore, job analysis is to understand more about a specific job. It helps understand what tasks are important and how they are carried on. Job analysis is the building block of everything that human resource managers do, and that will lead us to work redesign. Work redesign is a process where a firm will seek to redesign a work to make it more efficient or effective. This is done to enhance the employee's satisfaction while increasing the human output. Next is human resource planning. It is the process of systematic planning ahead to achieve best use of organization's most valuable asset, the quality employees. It guarantees the best fit between employees and jobs at the same time avoiding manpower shortages. Selection. It is the process of picking or choosing which applicants is qualified for the job, but it is first necessary to determine the task that will be performed and the knowledge and skills that the applicant must possess in order to do the job skillfully. Next is training. It is required to almost every employee hired by an organization. It is the process for providing required skills to the employee for doing the job effectively, skillfully, and qualitatively. It is generally given by an expert or professional in a related field or job. Performance appraisal. It is the assessment of the overall performance of employees and to recognize the abilities of them for further growth and development. Through the job analysis, the organization can identify the behaviors and results that distinguish effective performance from ineffective performance. Next is career planning. The major focus of career planning is on assisting the employees to achieve a better match between personal goals and the opportunities that are or may become available in the organization. This allows them to guide individuals into jobs in which they will succeed and be satisfied. Job evaluation. It is a systematic and formal process that allows organizations to compare jobs to others across the organization and industry to determine the appropriate pay rate. What is the importance of job analysis to line managers? It is important to line managers because first, they need a detailed information about all the jobs to understand the workflow process. Second, in order to make an intelligent hiring decisions, they need to understand the job requirements. Third, they are responsible for ensuring that the employees are working effectively, or better, to evaluate who's performing well and to provide feedback for those who needs improvements. And lastly, it is the manager's responsibility that the work is being done safely. There are two types of information that is most useful in job analysis. First is the job description. It is a list of the tasks, duties, and responsibilities that a job requires. You may see an example of a job description in your instructional materials on page 26. Next type of information is job specification. It is a list of knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics that an individual must have to perform the job. Knowledge refers to the information you have in order to do the job skillfully, while ability refers to the capability of an individual, and the other characteristics refers to the personal traits. But who should be responsible for providing the job analysis information? The ones who should be responsible are the ones who are familiar with the job, or what we call the subject matter experts. They are an individual with a deep understanding of a particular job. Let's now proceed with position analysis questionnaire. It is the job analysis questionnaire that evaluates job skill level and basic characteristics of applicants for a set match of employment opportunity. It is designed to collect detailed information about the duties and responsibilities of the position. Position analysis questionnaire are organized into 6 sections. The first one is information input. This is simply where and how a worker gets information needed to perform the job. Next is mental processes. It is the reasoning, decision-making, planning, and information processing activities. In short, it involves the mental capabilities of a worker. Next is work output. It is the physical activities, devices, and tools used by the worker. The fourth one is relationship with other persons. From the term itself, it's the relationship of a worker to other workers. Next is job context. It is the physical and social context where the work is performed. And last, other characteristics. It's the other activities, conditions, and characteristics which are not mentioned before and that are still relevant to the jobs.
As the topic 3 in Lesson 2, Job Design. Job design is the process of defining how work will be performed and the tasks that will be required in a given job. It is the process of work arrangement aimed at reducing and or overcoming job dissatisfaction and employees' alienation arising from repetitive and mechanistic approach. While the job redesign refers to changing the task or the way work is performed in a existing job. It is the restructuring the elements including tasks, duties, and responsibilities of a specific job in order to make it more encouraging and inspiring for the employees. Having a detailed knowledge of the task performed in a work unit or in the job, a manager then has many alternative ways to design a job. This can be done most effectively through understanding the trade-offs between certain design approaches. The first approach is the mechanistic approach. Mechanistic approach is based on scientific management for simplification, so jobs are looked at based on tasks and repetitive movement. It reduces the complexity of the work to provide more human resource efficiency. The positives of this approach are decreased training time, lower chance of job error, and less mental challenge and stress, making work so simple that anyone can easily perform it. Mechanistic approach focuses on designing jobs around the concept of task specialization, skill simplification, and repetition. First is the task specialization. the degree to which an organization divides individual tasks into separate jobs or division of labor, because workers become highly proficient in their specialized area. Second is the skill simplification, the process of removing tasks from existing roles in order to make them more focused. Third is the repetition. Repetition is defined as the number of similar exertions performed while engaging in a work-related task. Excessive repetition required for the performance of a job may cause an employee to experience repetitive stress injury or MSD. In some instances, the risk of repetition in a job can be reduced or minimized by modifying the job's task, encouraging frequent rest breaks. There was one and the best known statements of this mechanistic approach. It is called the scientific management. Scientific management identifies the one best way to perform the job. The workers should be selected based on their ability to the job and they will be trained. These chosen and trained workers should be offered monetary incentives to motivate them to work at their highest capacity. As an example for the mechanistic approach, we have the factories. Factory requires a lot of effort or work because they produce a large scale of product, so it is difficult to perform it by hand. So the best way to produce goods in a most effective and easiest way is to build or create a machineries that can help them to produce goods. The second approach is the motivational approach. Motivational approaches to job design maximize an employee's desire to work as hard as possible. A motivational approach focuses on making jobs more interesting, challenging, and complex to encourage employees to want to work as effectively and efficiently as they can. Unlike the mechanistic approach that reduces the complexity of the job, this job offers more complex and challenge to the employees. There are 5 job characteristic model or job dimension in motivational approach. First is the skill variety, task identity, autonomy, feedback, and task significance. First is the skill variety, the degree to which a job includes different tasks and activities that challenges the employee's skills and abilities. Second, it is the task identity, the degree to which a job involves completing a whole identifiable piece of work. Third is the autonomy, the degree to which the job permits substantial freedom and discretion to the individual scheduling the work and in determining the procedures to perform the work. Fourth is the feedback. It is the degree to which performing the job requirements results in the individual receiving direct and clear information about the effectiveness of his performance. Lastly is the task significance. Task significance is the job that has substantial and perceivable effect on the lives of others. The 3 job dimension, which is the skill variety, task identity, and task significance, influence the psychological state of employees, whether they feel that the work they perform is meaningful and valued. The more skill variety, task identity, and task significance within a job, they feel more experienced and meaningful in the work they perform. The greater the existence of these 5 job dimensions, the more motivation employees should feel in their job. These job dimensions are low, employees tend to be less satisfied with their works and less motivated to work hard. Model work depends on the individual employee. Some employees have a higher need for growth in their job than the other. Growth need strength is the extent to which individual feel the need to learn and be challenged. The need to develop their skills beyond where they currently are and a strong need for accomplishment. As an example for the motivational approach is the manager that gives challenging and difficult tasks to the employees in order for them to work hard and escape from their usual routine. In exchange, the manager will offer a promotion as a prize or a bonus in their salary. Next is the biological approach. The goal of this approach is to minimize physical strain on the worker by structuring the physical work environment around the way the human body works. Ergonomics is the scientific discipline concerned with the understanding of interaction among humans. My example for a biological approach is enhancing the workplace and its capabilities to help the employees to be more creative and motivated. The manager designs the workplace that is friendly for the workers. The fourth approach is the perceptual motor approach. Recent changes in technological capacity hold the promise of helping to reduce the job demands and errors, which in some cases, these developments have actually made the problem worse. The perceptual motor approach is similar to mechanistic approach. This approach generally decreases the job's cognitive demands. As said earlier, the goal of this approach is to ensure that they do not exceed people's mental capabilities and limitation. As an example is our technology, laptop or computer. For the office worker, it helps the worker to minimize their work because some works can be done by the computer or the laptop or our technology. This approach generally tries to improve reliability, safety, and users' reaction by designing jobs to reduce their information processing requirements. In designing jobs, one looks at the least capable worker and then constructs job requirements that an individual of that ability level could meet. Lastly, we can say that job design is an important role in improving the quality of working life. It designs the tasks required to complete the job successfully. It helps to create a job profile which can motivate the employees at workplace and reduce dissatisfaction. Job design can also expose the employees to a wider set of roles and help them understand the best role suited for them. And it ensures that the job is simplified or broken down to employees, especially for those who have limited skills.
Discuss to you the lesson 3, which is Human Resource Planning and Recruitment, and let me read to you the overview about this topic. Human resource managers are at the forefront of the worldwide war for competitive advantage. Organizations need to find the best set of workers for meeting their strategic objectives, attract those workers to their companies, and then get them to stay long enough to obtain some return on their investment. There are advantages and disadvantages associated with different workforces, and organizations that survive and thrive find the best match between the workers they need and the strategy they employ to compete in the market. There are 3 keys to effectively utilizing labor market to one's competitive advantage. First, companies must have a clear idea of their current configuration of human resources. They need to know the strengths and weaknesses of their present stock of employees. Second, organizations must know where they are going in the future and be aware of how their present configuration of human resources relates to the configuration that will be needed. Third, where there are discrepancies between the present configuration and the configuration required for the future, organizations need programs that will address these discrepancies. Topic number 1. The human resource planning process. Forecasting is an attempt wherein the HR manager or the planner assigned predicts the supply of and demand for various types of human resource if there will be labor shortages or surplus in the future of the organization. Here you can see the figure 5.1, the overview of the human resource planning process. So the first steps are forecast of labor demand, forecast of labor supply, then forecast of labor surplus or shortage, goal setting and strategic planning, and then the program implementation and evaluation. So, determining labor demand. This is developed for the specific job categories or skill areas relevant to the organization's current and future state. Once the job categories or skills are identified, the planner needs to seek information that will help predict if the need for people with those skills or the job category will increase or decrease in the future. At the most sophisticated level, an organization might have statistical models that predict labor demand for the next year given relatively objective statistics on leading indicators from the previous year. As leading indicator is an objective measure that accurately predicts future labor demand. Determining labor supply. This is done after projecting the labor demand. Determining the internal labor supply calls for a detailed analysis of how many people are currently in various job categories or specific skills within the company. This also will be modified to reflect changes in the company caused by retirement, promotion, transfer, voluntary turnover, and terminations of contracts. And as in the case of labor demand, projections for labor supply can be derived either from historical statistical models or through judgmental techniques. And one type of statistical procedure that can be employed for this purpose involves the transitional matrices. Matrices show the proportion or number of employees in different job categories at different times. Determining labor surplus or shortage. Upon knowing the forecast for the labor demand and labor supply, then comparing the figures to ascertain if there will be labor shortages or labor surplus for the respective job categories. Goal setting and strategic planning. This is the second step in human resource planning, setting of specific quantitative goals to focus the attention on the problem and provide a benchmark for determining the relative success of any programs aimed at redressing a pending labor shortage or surplus. This is also critical due to many options available.
Another means of reducing labor surplus is downsizing. It is when a company terminates a number of employees at the same time. Some of the reasons why companies do downsizing is because they probably experience economic crisis. Some other cases, there is a change in management, such as change in working methods and procedures. Also, a common reason for downsizing is merging of companies. In such cases, a company cuts off or cuts staffs to eliminate redundancy in work. Therefore, some employees leave the organization voluntarily or by temporary suspension or permanent termination of employment, or what we call layoffs. Next is early retirement and buyouts. Another popular means of reducing labor surplus is to offer an early retirement program. What is an early retirement program? It is generally offered to employees who may be approaching retirement age, usually in companies' efforts to reduce its overall costs. The advantages of retiring early include health benefits, opportunities to travel, or starting a new career or business venture. But there are disadvantages as well, like the strain on savings due to increased expenses and smaller social security benefits, and a depressing effect on mental health. Another popular method is employing temporary workers. Temporary employment gives staffing flexibility to the firms. It can also save time and money, but there can be disadvantages like the question of reliability, because some employers may believe that the temporary workers are generally less reliable than their permanent employee counterparts. Let's proceed with outsourcing, offshoring, and immigration. Outsourcing is an organization's use of an outside organization for a broad set of services. It is a practice usually undertaken by companies as a cost-cutting measure, while offshoring is a special case of outsourcing where the jobs that move actually leave one country and go to another. The difference is just the outsourcing is getting broader services and such from other companies, while offshoring specifically means sending jobs out of the country. Altering pay and hours. Other than hiring a part-time or full-time employees, because companies are facing shortage of labor, they also have the option to extend the working hours of employees and give out added compensations. But this option can also give employees stress and frustration from being overworked in this manner. Lastly, program implementation and evaluation. Program implementation is putting up a decision or plan and making sure to make someone responsible for the given task to accomplish the real goal. It is also important to have regular progress reports on the implementation to check if it's implemented poorly or even moderately well. Its goals are unlikely to be achieved or the results will be less significant. And the last step is to evaluate the results.
The second topic for our lesson 3 is the human resource recruitment process. Human resource recruitment is the practice carried on by the organization with the primary purpose of identifying and attracting potential employees. It is the process of finding and hiring the best qualified candidate from within or outside of an organization. The role of human resource recruitment is to build a supply of potential new hires that the organization can draw on if need arises. However, the goal of recruiting is not simply to generate large numbers of applicants. If the process generates a sea of unqualified applicants, the organization will incur great expense in personnel selection, but few vacancies will actually be filled. Personnel policies is a generic term we use to refer to organizational decisions that affect the nature of the vacancies for which people are recruited. If the research on recruitment makes one thing clear, it is the characteristics of the vacancy are more important than recruiters or recruiting sources when it comes to predicting job choice. Internal versus external recruiting. Internal recruiting is when a business or an organization intends to fill a vacancy from within its existing workforce. There are many advantages when it comes to internal recruiting. One is it highly motivates employees and helps in maximizing the job satisfaction. It also highly reduces efforts and costs and helps in reducing the employee turnover. On the other hand, external recruiting is when an organization looks to fill vacancies from applicants outside of the company. It can be informed to the external environment by using various methods such as advertisements, campus recruitments, walk-in interviews, job fairs, and job portals. In addition to employing promote from within the internal recruiting sources, perceptions of job security and long-term commitment to the organization are also promoted by what we call due process policies. Employment at will policies states that either an employer or an employee can terminate the employment relationship at any time. Due process policies are policies by which a company formally lays out the steps an employee can take to appeal a termination decision. Extrinsic and intrinsic rewards. Extrinsic rewards are rewards that is tangible or physically given to you. A properly designed extrinsic reward can also be emotionally attached with the employees, as employees value such rewards. Some examples of extrinsic rewards are pay, bonus or commission, promotion, profit sharing, fringe benefits such as free life or health insurance, pension plan, or employee discount scheme. Intrinsic rewards is an intangible award of recognition. They cannot be seen or touched, but are emotionally connected with the employees. There are various forms of intrinsic rewards, and some of which are sense of achievement, recognition, taking pride from the job, and words of praise from the seniors. Image advertising. Organization often advertise specific vacancies. Image advertising is particularly important for companies in highly competitive labor markets that perceive themselves as having a bad image. Organizations advertise just to promote themselves as a good place to work in general. Recruitment sources. The sources from which a company recruits potential employees are a critical aspect of its overall recruitment strategy. There are many sources from which recruits can be drawn. First is internal and external sources. Internal sources involves motivating the employees of the organization to apply for the opening within the organization, while external sources involves motivating the skilled and more efficient candidates external to the organization to apply for vacant positions in the organization.
And so today, please to allow me to continue discussing the topic number 3 or the lesson number 3, which is the human resource planning and recruitment with regards to the topic number 2, which is the human resource recruitment process. So now I'm just basically going to continue discussing the different recruitment sources by starting off with first is the direct applicants. So when we say direct applicants, these are the people who apply for a job vacancy without prompting from the organization. This can be considered as a good source of leads because it gives the HR practitioners an advantage of saving time and effort from sorting through the resumes. Second source is what we call referrals. So when we say referrals, these are the people who apply for a vacancy because someone in the organization prompted them to do so. When this particular technique is being practiced wisely, this can be considered as a very powerful recruitment technique since it improves the retention among employees. The disadvantage, on the other hand, is that there is a lack of diversity and fresh viewpoints in the organization. So one thing in common about these two sources is the process of what we call self-selection. So when we say self-selection, the applicants have done some search or some research and concluded that there is enough fit for themselves between the vacant position. The next recruitment source that we are going to talk about is the sources that we can get from the advertisements in newspapers and periodicals. So this one is also known as one of the traditional ways of the recruiters in terms of searching for the possible applicants. One good thing about this technique is that it allows the HR practitioner to target a specific audience only. But the disadvantage is that we can expect that this can be pricey or expensive since we all know for a fact that newspapers and any other publication offices depend on the ads only in order to survive. Now we're going to talk about the next external source of recruitment, which is the electronic recruiting. So it's also known as the online recruiting. So it's known for being the best in offering an efficient way of matching the job offers and the job vacancies with the applicants. because it gives an easy access for both the recruiters and the job seekers. So the disadvantage is that it can be too impersonal. That is why there is a higher risk of identity theft. The next external source that we are going to talk about are those that came from the public employment agencies. So the public employment agencies are the agencies that came from our local employment offices. So the merit that a company would probably get from them is that service of recruitment that is free of charge. But the disadvantage here is it can also be time consuming since or due to the number of resumes. The next one is from the private employment agencies. So these are the agencies that provide recruitment services but with payment included. So of course, the advantage or the major advantage of this is that it makes the hiring process more effective, easier, and faster. But it can also be expected that the more or the easier or the effective or the more efficient the service being served, the higher the price can also be expected. Now we are here with the last external source, which is from the colleges and universities. So usually an organization sends a recruiter to a campus in order to interview and screen candidates. So hiring a fresh grad open up an opportunity for new and fresh perspectives in the workplace, although compatibility issues may arise. So now that we get to able to discuss all the information about the recruitment sources, let us now proceed with evaluating and examining each of the quality of these sources. One way to do this is to get the yield ratio. So the yield ratio indicates the percentage of the applicants which are ready to take on the next step of recruitment, which is the selection. The cost per hire, on the other hand, refers to the total amount of money spent in order to fill a vacancy. By examining this table, we can observe that the highest generated resumes are from the newspaper ad, although it has got a lower cumulative ratio. Employee referrals, on the other hand, has got a good number of cumulative ratio with its reasonable cost per hire at the same time with the local university. The renowned university generated a high number of resumes, but only a few of them accepted the positions. All in all, we can infer that the two most recommended sources would be from the local universities and employee referrals. With regards to the executive search firms, yes, they gave the best cumulative ratio, but the cost per hire is too much high. Now, allow me to give you some quick overview regarding this particular topic of different recruitment sources. So, if you are applying for a job, make sure that you trust only the licensed individuals, organizations, or recruitment agencies, because your credentials are so important that you do not want to be used it illegally. So nowadays in the Philippines, there are a lot of recruitment agencies that are running as a company. Let me share you my experience and my personal experience when I have been through one of these agencies, namely the Top Service Solutions Incorporated, when I have been to their main building for our school compliance. Last year, we had a chance to tour around the company's main building and have a sneak peek with their operations department, accounting and finance department, and also to their human resource recruitment department. So I must personally say that this company really upholds to their mission of giving the good quality of service to both their employees and their clients. Before I get to end this portion, let me just remind everybody that in the world of recruitment, there must always be an ensured compliance to the law. And also, always remember to trust only the licensed individuals and organizations to avoid being victimized by illegal recruitment. So now let's proceed with the recruiters. What are the recruiters? The recruiters are the people who are engaged with the recruitment, selection, training, and development of the members of the organization. So the functional area of the recruiters is to mainly find or to try to find a match of the organization's needs with the abilities and skills of the potential applicants. Recruiters' realism. So the traditional philosophy of recruitment is to get as many people as possible to apply, but in the reality or in a realistic job review, attractiveness of the job is based on the light of realistic job expectations. That will be all for my report. Thank you very much.
Topic 3. Recruitment Metrics. Recruiting metrics are an essential part of data-driven hiring and recruitment. Recruiting metrics are measurements used to track hiring success and optimize the process of hiring candidates for an organization. When used correctly, these metrics help to evaluate the recruiting process and whether the company is hiring the right people. 19 most relevant recruiting metrics. Number 1. Time to fill. It means the time it takes to find and hire a new candidate. This can be measured by the number of days between publishing the job opening and hiring the candidate. Time to fill is influenced by supply and demand ratios for specific jobs as well as the speed at which the recruitment department operates. Number 2. Time to hire. Time to hire represents the number of days between the moment the candidate is approached and accepted the job. In other words, it measures the time it takes for someone to move through the hiring process once they applied, and time to hire thus provide a solid indication of how the recruitment team is performing. This metric is also called time to accept. A shorter time to hire often enables you to hire better candidates. This is to prevent best candidates from being snatched up by a company that does have a short time to hire. It also impacts your candidate experience as nobody likes a recruiting process that takes a long time. Number 3. Source of hire. These are the different recruiting channels, just like examples are job boards, the company's career page, the social media platform where there are ads for the job opening, job vacancies, and sourcing agencies. Number 4, first year attrition is a key recruiting metric and also indicates hiring success. Candidates who live in their first year of work fail to become fully productive and usually cost a lot of money. First year attrition can be managed and unmanaged. Managed attrition means that the contract is terminated by the employer, while the unmanaged attrition means that they leave on their own accord. The former is often an indicator of a bad first year performance or bad fit with the team. This metric can also be turned around as candidate retention rate. Number 5, quality of hire. Quality of hire, often measured by someone's performance rating, gives an indicator of first-year performance of a candidate. Candidates who receive high performance ratings are indicative of hiring success, while the opposite holds true for candidates with low performance ratings. Or the low year performance ratings are indicative of bad hires. A single bad hire can cost a company tens of thousands of dollars in both direct and indirect costs. When combined with the channel through which the candidate was sourced, you can measure sourcing channel quality. Quality of hire is the input for the success ratio. The success ratio divides the number of hires who perform well by the total number of candidates hired A high success ratio means that most of the hired candidates perform well. However, a low ratio means that you need to fine-tune your selection process. So the formula is success ratio equals number of hired candidates considered satisfactory over total number of candidates hired. Number 6, hiring manager satisfaction. This is as simple as if the hiring manager is satisfied, the candidate is likely to perform well. In other words, it can be a successful hire for the candidate. Number 7, candidate job satisfaction is the expectations during the recruiting procedure that match reality. This also allow candidate job satisfaction highlights mismanagement of expectations or incomplete job descriptions. This helps to present both the positive and negative aspects of the job to potential candidates, thus creating a more realistic view. Number 8, applicants per opening. Applicants per job opening or applicants per hire gauges the job's popularity. A large number of applicants could indicate a high demand for jobs in that particular area or a job description that's too broad. Then, number 9, selection ratio. The selection ratio refers to the number of hired candidates compared to the total number of candidates. This ratio is also called submittals to hire ratio. The formula is selection ratio equals number of hired candidates over total number of candidates. Selection ratio is very similar to the number of applicants per opening. When there's a high number of candidates, the ratio approaches 0. The selection ratio provides information such as the value of different assessment and recruitment tools and can be used to estimate the utility of a given selection and recruitment system. Number 10 is cost per hire. The cost per hire recruitment metric is the total cost invested in hiring divided by the number of hires. The formula is cost per hire equals total recruitment cost over total number of hires equals total internal cost plus total external cost over total number of hires. Cost per hire consists of multiple cost structures which can be divided by internal and external costs. By quantifying all of them, you can calculate the total recruitment cost. Candidate experience. Candidate experience are the job seekers perceive an employer's recruitment and boarding process. For acceptance rate is the number of candidates who successfully accepts a job offer with the number of candidates who receives an offer. Formula is offer acceptance rate or OA equals number of offers accepted divided by number of offers made. Number 13, percent of open positions. Percent of open positions compared to the total number of positions can be applied to specific departments or the entire organization. The formula is percent of open positions equals total number of open positions divided by total number of positions in the organization. Number 14, application completion rate is the metrics of ways of applying. Application completion rate is especially interesting for our organizations with elaborate online recruiting systems. Many large corporate firms require candidates to manually input their entire curriculum vitae in their systems before they can apply for a job. Problems in this procedure, an example of web browser incompatibility with the application system or a non-user friendly interface. Number 15, recruitment funnel effectiveness. Recruitment is a funnel which begins with sourcing and ends with a signed contract. By measuring the effectiveness of all the different steps in the funnel, you can specify a yield ratio per step. This makes for some excellent recruiting metrics. For example, 15:1, where 750 applicants apply and 50 curriculum vitae are screened. Next, 5:1, 50 screened curriculum vitae lead to 10 candidates submitted to the hiring manager. 2:1, 10 candidates submissions lead to 5 hiring manager acceptances. 5:2, first 5 interviews lead to 2 final interviews. And then 2:1, 2 final interviews lead to 1 offer. 1:1, 1 offer to 1. Number 16, sourcing channel effectiveness. This is the metrics which measures the conversions per channel, or the conversions of the data per the channel that the organization use. And a simple way to do this is by using Google Analytics to track where the people who viewed from job opening on your website actually came from. Number 17, sourcing channel cost. Sourcing channel cost is the cost efficiency of different channels, and the formula is sourcing channel cost equals ad spend per platform divided by number of successful applicants per platform. Number 18, cost getting of optimum productivity level, or OPL. Cost of getting to optimum productivity level is cost of getting someone up to speed. This is to in the transition of newly hired to training and then to working in the company. Number 19, time to productivity. Time to productivity, or time to optimum productivity level, measures how long it takes to get a people up to speed and productive. It is the time between the first day of hiring and the point where the employee fully contributes to the organization.